If you've spent any time on health social media lately, you've probably seen someone warning you about hydroxyapatite, that the particles are too small, that they're nanoparticles that cross into your bloodstream, your brain, even your arteries. A lot of people are now scared of an ingredient that is literally what your teeth are made of. So let me clear this up. As a dentist who didn't just pick hydroxyapatite off a shelf, I researched it. I formulated my own products to include it, and I had those products independently tested. The primary particles come in at around 52 nanometers, and yes, that is a small particle. I'm not going to tell you that it's big. What I'm going to tell you is why small is exactly what makes it work and why it's safe in your mouth. Let's go through every concern you've heard about one at a time. So, hydroxyapatite, first of all, isn't something that somebody just invented in a lab. It's naturally occurring. It's about 96% of your enamel, the part that you see when you smile, that's hydroxyapatite. And about 70% of your bones are hydroxyapatite. We didn't create this. We figured out how to put a mineral your teeth are already made of back into your teeth. It's biomimetic. It's not foreign. I wanted to look for the ideal hydroxyapatite product. I wanted the right size, the right shape, the right dose, the right purity. I didn't want any junk ingredients. This was actually a really difficult process. Just to find the hydroxyapatite alone took me about a year. I could not find a product that had all of those things right. So I decided I needed to formulate my own. And then once I made it in my kitchen, literally in my kitchen, I independently tested it to see was what I am telling you about actually in the product. So we used a company called the Metallurgical Engineering Services. They independently tested this, and what they found is that the particles of hydroxyapatite that we're using are in two different forms. So let me explain this just a little bit. Each individual particle, meaning the complex that has calcium and phosphate and hydrogen and oxygen all stuck together, each of those individual complexes is 52 nanometers in size. What does that mean? Well, a nanometer is just simply a measurement. So each of those individual particles or complexes with those minerals together are 52 nanometers in size. And then those particles clump together. It's called agglomeration. They clump together to form a rounded particle that's called a globular particle. Those particles are somewhere in the 200 nanometer range. So remember those numbers. I'll come back to them in a minute. They're actually very, very important. And remember, this is what an independent lab found when they were analyzing our product. We then did a second study. So, using one of our manufacturing companies, we did a use study. So, what we did is we had a whole bunch of people brush with the tooth powder. Then we had them spit out what was still in their mouth. We then dried up what was left in that spit. You imagine this is the fun kind of research we do. We weighed it so we could determine how much of what we put in the mouth was actually spit out and what went down the hatch, how much was swallowed. The number's coming. It's very reassuring. We're going to talk through this in just a minute. So I'm not here to make you scared about anyone else's product, and I won't pretend the science is simpler than it is. Honestly, this is actually pretty complex stuff. When we're talking nanometers, we have to use a very special electron microscope to be able to even see it. But I'm going to simplify this for you. I'll show you the actual research, including the parts that the critics point at. So, concern number one, hydroxyapatite is just a fad. Let's dispel this. You know, people say, well, this came onto the scene so quickly in the holistic world. We just shouldn't trust this. People assume it's new, it's untested. That's actually not true. There's a growing body of clinical and lab research and in-person research. And in fact, in 2024, there was a systemic review plus so many years of randomized trials in adults and children that were looked at and showed that there is efficacy that goes with hydroxyapatite. Again, I'm going to show you the details in a bit. This has been used in dentistry for decades. It's been used in toothpaste in Japan since the 1980s. In fact, Japan approved this as an anti-cavity agent in 1993. This actually traces all the way back to the 1970s when NASA patented this because they knew that this would actually help strengthen teeth. So, really, what's new is that it finally showed up in a clean, fluoride free products all over in the United States. The ingredient is actually older than most of the people worried about it. So let's talk through what actually happens. Instead of just being scared of the word nano or debating is this nano or micro, let's really talk through how this works. Concern number two, that it crosses the blood-brain barrier, that it gets into the blood, that it gets into the body, that it calcifies in places like arteries and our pineal gland and other things. Let's really get into this. First thing is that you spit it out. So the large majority of hydroxyapatite that's being put in the mouth in an oral care product, whether that's tooth powder, toothpaste, mouthwash, all of those things, the large majority is spit out. Remember that research study that I told you we did? We measured it. What was the number that we found? 94% is actually spit out. So right off the top, you don't even have to worry about 94% of the hydroxyapatite that you're putting in. But I know what you're going to say right now. You're going to say, well, my child swallows it. And I'm not great maybe at spitting it out. Or how else is it getting in? Well, here's where you can just relieve all of those fears and not worry so much. Other research has shown that when hydroxyapatite goes down the hatch, so when that 6% actually is swallowed, or maybe it's more in your children, most likely it is, it hits the stomach. What's inside of the stomach? Acid, purposefully. Well, if you remember all of that you've learned, hopefully, about how a cavity forms, all that I've taught about how a cavity forms, it's from acid. Our teeth, they're not water soluble, meaning we can't drink a glass of water and the hydroxyapatite just dissolves. Otherwise, none of us would have teeth. The hydroxyapatite is acid soluble, meaning it dissolves in acid. And this is how we lose minerals in our teeth every single day on an ongoing basis. We call this demineralization. So you either eat acid or your mouth gets more acidic through the digestive process, or the bacteria in your mouth create acid because they eat sugar that you feed them. All of those things lead to an acidic environment in the mouth. That's what cavities are from, because that acid dissolves the minerals in the hydroxyapatite, in the enamel matrix. So use that knowledge that you already know and apply this to what's going to happen once this hydroxyapatite that's swallowed hits your stomach. It's full of acid. Guess what happens? Studies and research have shown exactly what you would expect. It dissolves. And what does it do when it dissolves? It simply takes those agglomerations, those groups of hydroxyapatite, and it goes and breaks them apart into calcium, phosphorus, oxygen, hydrogen. Are any of those things foreign to your body? No. Your body knows what to do with all of those. And here's the great thing, it needs all of them. That's how it then goes into the system. It helps to rebuild your bones. It helps to rebuild your teeth from the inside out. Your body needs all those minerals. So I actually have a product that is a remint. It's meant to be swallowed. Why am I not worried about this? No, because what's going to happen to the hydroxyapatite once it hits the stomach? It's going to break apart into minerals. It's literally like taking a mineral supplement. It does not absorb into your body or get into your body in the hydroxyapatite form once it hits the stomach. Now, I know the next question is going to come, well, not everything is swallowed. Maybe it's absorbed through the gum tissue. Well, there was actually a European Safety Commission. It reviewed a whole bunch of things, including a 3D human oral tissue model, and it found that uptake through intact gum tissue is almost nothing. So again, cross that off the worry list. We don't have to worry about that. So now we get to this whole calcification question. It calcifies your pineal gland, your arteries, your brain. This is actually backwards. If you look at calcifications in those areas, in the arteries, in the brain, and the pineal gland, you're going to find hydroxyapatite. The body forms it there internally. There is zero evidence that the hydroxyapatite in an oral care product is absorbed intact, travels through the gut without breaking apart, and then makes it to any of those areas. It dissolves in the stomach. It doesn't pile up in your arteries. So there is no research showing that the hydroxyapatite found in any of these areas was from your toothpaste, from your tooth powder, from your mouthwash. It is made internally. It is something that already exists in the body. And the body's already adept at using it and rebuilding it. How do you think we rebuild bones? We have to be able to form those hydroxyapatite molecules, those crystals, to be able to rebuild a bone. The body can also form those same calcifications in other areas in the body and does so. It's not because you've used a toothpaste. The particle doesn't damage cells. In that same EU review, it found no mutagenic, cytotoxic, inflammatory, or membrane damaging effects, meaning these hydroxyapatite particles don't damage your gum tissue. They don't damage your gut tissue. They don't do any of the above. It's so important to just dig into this research and find out what is it that we really should be concerned about. So, you spit out 94% of it. The little bit you swallow turns into minerals. It doesn't cross your gums, it doesn't harm your cells, and it doesn't travel to your arteries or your brain. All right, concern number 3, size and shape of particle. There's also concerns about this. Our primary particles are about 52 nanometers in size, and they're globular, meaning they're rounded. I had that independently tested. But the part that nobody mentions is that those tiny particles, remember, those are like an individual group of those minerals hooked together. They cluster together into bigger groups, around 228 nanometers in size in our product. As per definition, this is actually micro-sized because those little teeny 52 nanometer particles, they're not floating around all on their own. They're always grouping with friends and creating around a 220 nanometer size particle, again, defined as micro. Now, why does small matter? Well, when that acid challenge comes, like I talked about, when the acid hits the teeth, it pulls the minerals out. It leaves little microscopic pits, and under it are dentinal tubules. So there's now a hole that has direct access all the way to the nerve of the tooth. A particle has to be small enough to get into those spaces to remineralize and to calm sensitivity from the inside. If they're too big, they just sit on the outside of the tooth. Well, here's the great part. The size of particles we use are small enough to get a couple of them into those enamel crystal holes and into those dentinal tubules. This is honestly why globular matters. The safety questions are in those EU studies are mostly around needle-shaped, what are called high aspect ratio particles. Ours are rounded, the shape the EU safety reviews point to as appropriate. So this other concern of, okay, so you say it's rounded and they're stuck together, that's a problem, right? Everything can be made to sound wrong or bad. Now it's too big. Now it's not going to be able to get into the holes that it needs to get into because it's too large. It's wrong if it's too little. It's wrong if it's too big. That's not true. Clumping is normal. It's not a failure. And those small defects in the teeth, those larger particles can actually cover over them. Now your saliva and your brushing, everything's going to move it off, going to move it back. This is a moving fluid situation that's happening. All of the minerals, whether they're large, whether they're small, all of them have a role to play in remineralizing and protecting the tooth. I'd rather use the size that works and really be straight with you about why we're using it. The last thing people argue about, concern number 4, is the percentage. How much hydroxyapatite is in there? There's this idea online that you need 10% or 15% or it doesn't work. Here's the honest version. Chasing a bigger number on the label isn't the answer, and neither is assuming any amount of anything works the same. The percentage, the particle, and the formula all matter. And then the real key is using it consistently. Twice a day, every day, letting it sit on your teeth. We use 10% in our powder because it works beautifully at that level. The number, it isn't a gimmick, it isn't just a hard and fast rule, and it isn't a magic threshold. What actually rebuilds enamel over time is a well-formulated product used every single day, not necessarily the number on the front of the jar. I know this is a lot, and you actually might want the research, so I did something about it. I wrote a full paper that lays out every study behind what I just told you. The safety research, the remineralization research, the independent lab testing on our own products, all of it. It's free. The link is below. And if you want the simple how-to version for your own teeth, I'll link my tooth remineralization guide. Grab those, then come back, because I want to show you what actually does the work. Of everything in the tooth powder, the toothpaste, anything you're using, hydroxyapatite is what actually remineralizes. It binds to the enamel in the dentin, it fills the microscopic defects in the tooth, and it releases calcium and phosphate that rebuild the surface. The part that critics often miss, however, is it's stable when it's neutral, so it stays on the tooth. But when acid hits it, it actually releases calcium phosphate right when your enamel needs it, a mineral reserve that activates under attack and a sacrificial layer. So, honestly, this is for early lesions. This is for surface repair. This is for sensitivity. This is for daily prevention. This is actually not reversing a cavity that's already broken through the enamel and into the dentin. So, how do you get the benefit? You're going to use it twice a day. Don't rinse it away. Spit the extra, but let it stay on the teeth just a little bit. If you swish with water right after, you basically just washed off the thing that you paid for. So let it sit on the teeth. Be consistent. The daily habit with a well-formulated product is what rebuilds enamel over time. So when I went looking for the perfect hydroxyapatite product, I had a list. I wanted it to be small enough to get into the tooth. I wanted it to be a biocompatible globular shape. I wanted it to be a real dose, enough to do the good that I wanted it to do. I wanted it to be synthesized for purity, and I didn't want any of the junk that's often added into these products just to make them foam up or be whiter or taste better. I actually couldn't find one that checked every box. So I went to my kitchen. I made my own, the tooth powder and the rinse. And then I sent it to outside labs to confirm exactly what was in it, particle size, shape, even how much actually gets swallowed. I'm not reacting to a trend. I'm the dentist who built the thing, had it tested, and can tell you exactly what's in it and why. So, is hydroxyapatite safe? Well, here's my honest answer as the dentist who formulated it and had it tested. Yes. Not because I'm hiding that it's a small particle, but because of what actually happens when you use it. You spit out almost all of it. The little bit you swallow becomes minerals. It doesn't cross your gums. It doesn't harm your cells. It doesn't travel to your brain or your arteries. And it puts back the same mineral your teeth are made of, right where they need it. The full research and lab testing are in the paper below, and the simple how-to is in my Remineralization guide. And if you want to understand how your teeth actually heal themselves, watch this next. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Michelle Jorgensen, and as always, my mission is to give you the knowledge and tools you need to live well.